morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are at. I hope you're having a fantastic day. It's SoulSaint here, and we actually have a new, what would we call this one? A progress mission champion that's coming up on the board. So, Marius the Gallant, we've been informed and educated and revitalized in the aspect of there is a new champion that's going to be going adjacent to the Ramantu progression mission. So that means after you get the Arbiter mission quest done and you collect your Arbiter for the first time, you will also have the opportunity to not only go for Ramantu, but this champion too as well. Now, we're going to do a breakdown on a live reaction of what his kit brings to the table and how we feel about him. I did hear that like enfeeblement's kind of a big deal with him, and there's some other things that he might have some immunity to, which we're going to read here in just a moment. But I think this champion is kind of interesting, and I'll be honest with you guys. I think he's going to be a pretty big banger for the most part. So if you guys haven't already considered following us, make sure you do so you can get these news whenever they come up and whatnot for us. So, all right. With that being said, let's get into it. So he's a defense legendary champion who is a void. So that's really, really good. For the Shadowkin, I think the Shadowkin have some of the least amount of voids on the champion pool side of things. There might be some other ones that are pretty close to that number too as well. Because I know we have like, what, Leorius, and that's all I really remember from that side, to be honest. Oh, we got Cornar. There's another one too. Yeah, I'm not trying. I don't remember who else might be in that list, but I mean, like the number's pretty small. I mean, to be honest with you, I think Shadowkin's one of the more, I want to say newer, but like it's been around the least. Y'all might have to let me know. That might have been before my time when they came out. So, anyways, with that being said, here their A1 Orc Lance attacks all enemies. That's cool. Has a 35% chance of placing an enfeeblement debuff for one turn. That can be buffed up to another 15% on top of that, meaning it's a 50-50 chance. Yeah, 50% chance with extra damage laced onto it if you book it up all the way. Not bad at all. Enfeeblement is on the table for all enemies. I wonder if you can enfeeble. Well, we'll go back into it. We'll look inside the game and we'll talk about it for a little bit. But his A2, Death or Glory, is a 4-turn cooldown that can be booked down to a 3-turn cooldown. Attacks all enemies 3 times. Each hit decreases the duration of all enemy buffs by 1 turn. You notice that they've been releasing a lot of champions that have to do with like buff duration decreasers or enhancers or whatever the case may be. Mikage was one. I want to say Ugir was one. I mean, like Timid. They really have been going out of their way to give like a lot of answers to like buff heavy centric type fights and whatnot. So that's an interesting one. And it's on a 3-turn cooldown. So being a triple hitter is kind of a big deal in the sense that, similar to how we perceive Timid, that they were going to be able to take buffs away from people. Most buffs are on a 2-turn duration. If you have like masteries that can increase it, they normally only go up to like maybe 3, 4 if you're lucky, and depending on the buff, of course. And this right here practically removes it altogether, no matter what. So that's kind of cool. Galloping Thunder, his A3 is a 6-turn cooldown. It places an increased accuracy buff and an increased debuff, increased defense buff on all allies for 3 turns. Then places a stun debuff on the enemy target with the highest turn meter for 1 turn. Finally, it grants an extra turn. Wow. Okay. So not only are you buffing your team with a long turn duration buff, because increased defense for 3 turns is pretty nice, it also gives you a chance to place a debuff, a stun on the target that has the highest turn meter on the enemy's team. And then it gives you the chance to have an extra turn. Now, what's really, really cool about the way that this reads is it doesn't matter if the stun lands, no matter what happens in this entire ordeal, you still get that extra turn, which is kind of cool. Which means you can cycle into Death or Glory a lot more often. Instead of it being like a 3-turn cooldown, it's pretty much on a 2-turn cooldown. Am I understanding that right? So you can open up A2, then you do your A3, come back, and it's already 1 turn extra down. Yeah, wow, okay, not bad at all. Steadfast Knight, his passive, is this champion is immune to turn meter reduction effects and decreased speed debuffs. Whenever an enemy charge changes form or attempts to decrease this champion's turn meter, counterattacks using this champion's default skill. Ooh, wait a minute, hold up. So changes form, is that mythic related? So like any mythical champion that likes to metamorph, right? It automatically allows you to be able to put enfeeblement on the board immediately with a counterattack. Okay. I mean, the only thing that's kind of interesting about it is that it's a pretty RNG ability. I mean, 50-50 is still not bad, but changing forms or decreasing turn meter attempts. So, like, what champions could this negate? Obviously, the Mythics could definitely be affected by this. But what else would we see on the board? I mean, like, if people are... I still see some Lissandras here and there, which actually do, like, turn meter reduction. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else that does something similar or in some capacity that's like that, where turn meter reduction's on the board. Shuzen, her A3 does that, where she's increasing turn meter on your team while decreasing the enemies, and also tries to put decreased speed on board. So that's 2 ways that it gets negated. I wonder if like a Shuzen A3 would proc it twice, or would it be one time for the skill itself? I think it's probably one time for the skill itself, because if they allow you to do it twice for 2 different iterations, that'd be kind of broken. That would be very broken, actually. The aura on this champion is increase ally defense in all battles by 35%. That's a pretty high, that's a pretty decent ally defense. I think there's not really many in the game that actually do that on a regular basis. Let me take a look real quick. We were running Spider prior to this video, guys, but let me think. I want to say maybe he has one that's pretty high. 40% in dungeons. Let me see. All battles, I think, was what we were talking about on this one, right? So, yeah, 35 is kind of a lot. I think honestly, if I was to be real with you, there's not really many champions that have it. I know Ragash has a 30%er. I think maybe I'm just referring to all the champions I own. 44% in faction crypts. Yeah, that 35 is pretty much on the higher side for defensive auras across the board, which is actually kind of nice, believe it or not. This champion, man, is going to be interesting. Now, I did want to talk to you guys about how you can acquire him and what to expect along the way with missions for this guy. So, according to the notes that we released from the content creator channel, they basically said that some of the missions are going to focus on Live Arena, Curse City, Hydra, Champion Awakening, Gear Ascension, and so on and so forth. So, 180 new missions are going to be there for you to be able to claim him, and I think that's going to be pretty interesting. I think they are going to introduce a value on his efforts as a PvP champion. I think is definitely kind of on the board here, with the fact that turn meter reduction and decreased speed is not a factor against him. But also there may be some versatility with, like, I don't know. We'll have to see how enfeeblement plays out, because I think there's only one other champion that has enfeeblement. No, there's 2 on the board right now that have enfeeblement. That's the Bannerlords. I believe Androck has it on his 2nd form, right here, where you can put enfeeblement debuff and it can't be removed, so it's protected. And then, of course, I believe the first original one that had it out was Bambus, who was a fusion champion on their A3. So the enfeeblement debuff can't be placed on bosses, which is kind of something I wanted to point out. I think that, isn't that naturally something that they are immune to? If not, then the other 2 don't have this verbiage on their ability, so maybe that might open the door for some. I don't know if that actually works that way or not, to be honest with you guys, but if enfeeblement was something that is possibly put on, like, PvE content, that would break the game. So I would assume that they're immune to it naturally. I would hope so, because if they aren't, then that champion becomes a lot more valuable, especially against, like, content where you need AoE abilities like Hydra. Being able to do AoE enfeeblement on all the heads makes that content ridiculously easier. So that would be pretty interesting. But yeah, I think this guy's gonna be really, really cool for the Skinwalkers. I think he's gonna be really dope. He's gonna be available, I think, in the next update that we're gonna have here coming on. I want to show you guys a little bit of the design and how he looks. He looks really, really cool. I like the spiked hooves. I like the aspect. He's got like this. It does have, like, a little bit of a Bannerlord vibe to him in terms of, like, his armor and, like, I don't know what you call that, like, his drapes or whatever. And you see, like, the knights or, like, a unicorn symbol almost. I mean, I believe this is kind of themed around, like, a horse primarily. But, like, either way, it's really, really cool to see. Yeah, he does have, like, the unicorn horn right there, which is kind of cool, I guess. And then you could also see it on his design, on his shield, and a lot of other stuff. That's a really, really cool design. Yet again, Playrium's development team, when it comes to their graphical design department, is top tier. I actually think this is a very, very beautiful design. It looks very robust, looks very, very clean. Can't complain whatsoever. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. Are you guys excited about this champion? I'm very curious to see what you guys are thinking about it. I wonder if they're going to have some missions that are going to be retroactive for people who've already made progression in various different ways, or if it's going to be similar to missions that we're going to have to do, you know, again, over again, which may be a little redundant, but depending on the difficulty, depending on what the demand is, we should be okay, right? Fingers crossed that it's not too bad. I don't know. We'll see. With that being said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and always remember, stay ascended.
So it's 100 on the